So welcome everyone to our Well at Work Stories of Success webinar. My name's Kathleen Lane, and I'm the Program Director for Well at Work by EdCan. I'd like to begin by recognizing that we live and work on the traditional territories of the First Nations, the Métis, and the Inuit people. I am personally joining from the unceded territory of the Squamish people in Squamish, British Columbia. Please feel free to share your own land acknowledgements in the chat. Today's webinar is part of a series of webinars highlighting how schools and school districts across Canada are supporting the well-being of their staff and students. It's just one of the many ways that EdCan is working towards our goal of fostering healthier workplaces to improve the outcomes for everyone in K-12 education. In addition to the Stories of Success webinars, we offer Well at Work advisor services, professional learning opportunities, a pan-Canadian community of practice, and an awareness building platform that includes a variety of free resources available through our website. Over the coming weeks, we will be hosting 2 virtual workshops that you might find interesting. Please check out all our upcoming events on Well at Work, k12wellatwork.ca/event. And now it is my pleasure to introduce today's guests, Thérèse deChamplain-Good and Jody Seymour from Elk Island Catholic Schools. Thérèse is the Assistant Superintendent of Educational Excellence, and Jody is the Director of Student and Staff Formation, Curriculum, Faith and Wellness. Thérèse and Jody have been instrumental in embedding well-being across all aspects of their division's operations. I had the pleasure of working with them on a very small aspect of one of their projects, Here Comes the Sun, which we'll be chatting about in a little bit. So Jody and Thérèse, welcome. So as we get started, I understand that Elk Island Catholic Schools has been embedding wellness in its strategic plan for the past 6 years or so, and that 2 years ago, you shifted from a general focus on wellness to a specific focus on systemic wellness. So let's begin by just sharing how that came about and what that looks like.
All right, thank you, Kathleen. It's really an honor to be here to share our story. Just to provide a little bit of a context, our school division leads through the assurance process under the guidance of Alberta Education and their stakeholder engagement process, and which they call assurance and accountability framework. So currently, we are in year 2 of a 4-year cycle, and previous to that, we had an assurance project of 4 years as well. So through a stakeholder engagement process, we determine our 4 priority areas for our education assurance plan. And the current 4-year education plan is now shifted to a systemic wellness priority area, which has grown from our previous plan, which was just really focused on wellness and really a small focus really to support the student wellness in the classroom more so. After our stakeholder engagement, which was 2.5 years ago to build the plan, it was very, very obvious in our stakeholder engagement with parents, students, and staff that we needed to broaden our wellness to the whole system and really have the systemic wellness breed into all of our priorities to really, really focus in on each area, faith, our learners and learning, because we know students can't learn and teachers can't teach without being well, that whole systemic piece, and then, of course, working with our community. So currently, our systemic wellness goal is staff and students' well-being in mind, body, and spirit will be supported through programming and education. So really, really going through those 4 pillars. And really highlighting for all of our stakeholders that integration of wellness in our faith piece, because that is instrumental to who we are as a Catholic school division.
Wonderful. So when you use the term systemic wellness, what is the common understanding of that? Because that's not a term that necessarily people would use in their day-to-day conversations?
Well, it's really, really helping all of our stakeholders understand that for all of us to work in our educational environment, we need to be well in mind, body, and spirit. So, and as well, that it needs to touch every piece of our organization. So, from the system, which is us in our tower, to the children in their seats, and then that the pieces that the children are going home and also supporting their families,
Mm-hmm.
their language, and how they come home at night. So really, that system is right from the top to kids in the classrooms going home at home being well. So we're really, really focusing on every aspect of wellness to have that impact.
Absolutely. And I know you've been implementing a lot of strategies to support this. And that over the past year and a half, you've had a project called Here Comes the Sun. It was supported by a grant from Alberta Education for Mental Health in Schools pilot. So can you tell us more about that project and how it fits in with this higher level strategic goal?
Yeah, hello everyone. So I'm just going to screen share and show you a couple slides. This was sort of the, we're good, you can see me?
We can.
So Here Comes the Sun came from, this gift of funding to look at wellness in our school division through mental health. And as Thérèse said, we do have a systems approach, and we were blessed that we already had, on the continuum of supports, we wanted to use our funding to address wellness at the universal level. So, really focusing on the whole child, the whole person at the universal level to see what we could do from top to bottom, as Thérèse said, throughout the whole school division, because we had a lot of systems and resources in place. Not that we couldn't use more, but every school has a family wellness worker, for example, counselors, et cetera, and our inclusive ed team does a phenomenal job on working with other stakeholders and partners and community partners with addressing more targeted and specialized needs. So we really felt that, particularly post-pandemic, to look at the whole child and the whole system. So Here Comes the Sun, pardon the pun, being Catholic schools, he is the light. It's Easter. And so using, Jesus as the central focus of everything that we do is important to us. And so when we look at wellness, I mean, the word wellness comes from the word holy. So it's about, how we focus on the dignity of every child, every human in our school division, and their needs and how they grow in closer relationship to Jesus. And prior to this, we had done a lot of it within our wellness AP. There's a lot of work in there about connections, and we had a connections project prior to that. So really looking at, okay, how are we connected at body, mind, and soul, and starting foundationally with, our connection to Christ. Am I able to move through this? Not moving. There it is. So this is what Thérèse just alluded to, our assurance plan. We started from there. So we really looked at, when we're looking at the whole person, we had some, partners who have been instrumental in delivering all the aspects of Here Comes the Sun over the past 2 years, one of whom was EdCan, and we're very grateful for your leadership and support. And so we started with working with our systems leaders and our school administrators with EdCan to look at them visioning and how we can make positive gains in our schools and throughout the division. Another partner, as a part of, again, when we're looking at body, mind, and spirit, we thought it was significant. It was really important to work with our Indigenous elders and knowledge keepers that we have in our schools and working with us at a systems level and throughout, and learning from, their culture and teachings to, it's important that in this journey of truth and reconciliation, we bring Indigenous, First Nations, Métis Indigenous persons to the table, and really it's you know, it's about healing. And so we've learned a lot from them and had them become part of the journey, as well as you know, our parish priests and pastors. Father Chris Schmidt from Camrose has been a significant partner, and we've done sessions with him. He was our Faith and Wellness Day speaker. We also have another part that, again, speaking of connection and relationships, is our EICS circles. And so we've given any staff who wanted the opportunity to train in that, and it's being used, it's in full swing and being used in many classrooms throughout the school division. We use it at team meetings, and downstairs today they're doing professional learning. I'm sure they began with a circle. So again,
Can you
that
just explain what a circle is?
so it's a means to bring to get people together in, you know, that circle, and they can either participate or not in, you know, a question, and again, knowing our audience so that people feel comfortable in sharing. And so, you know, we have it for our littlest kiddos right up through to our leaders. And there is, we have a circles team, and that's our inclusive ed team, led by a director of inclusive ed, Bonnie Lynn. And, you know, they fostered it from other circles, from, you know, First Nations, Métis Inuit, sharing circles of other sorts, to streamline it to a more universal approach so that our staff can learn it and lead it. And we have seen significant, and it's been reported by staff, that significant gains in behaviors and positive conversations and support in classrooms. So one of the teachers that we brought on board to help lead that uses it in her class. And so when the teacher comes in for training, then she goes out and visits with schools and sort of supports them and watches it in action. And I know that it's something that will absolutely continue to flourish. You know, once the grant, as well, I know we're going to get to this, but as the grant ends, this is something that is more than sustainable. And it's just that power of positive connection, particularly coming out of a time where we're doing as we're doing right now, we're behind screens and kiddos are more comfortable on their phones. It brings them in a circle, in a comfortable way. There's parameters. And you know, it's like a talking stick or something meaningful to the person who's leading the circle, and you can pass or you can share. And having been a part of it, there's been lots of laughs and lots of tears, but really in the end, it's a way of validating and giving opportunity for children and staff to share something that's on their heart, which, as we all know, is good for our wellness.
Absolutely.
You know, or practice gratitude, right? So when we're practicing gratitude, it's difficult for us to be anxious, even in that moment. So, so yeah, Here Comes the Sun is a way about, you know, to foster connection and community, and to bring about hope. And it has been a journey, but it has really fostered a lot of wonderful activity and leadership. Our student leaders are just so engaged. It has been a beautiful journey.
So you just alluded to, you know, we played a very small role in the project. And I visited the district and met with the school admins last spring, and then had the opportunity to meet with them again in the fall, and where the conversations and understanding around what is systemic wellness, what is my role, in that period just flourished exponentially, from trying to figure it all out to seeing how all the pieces that they were doing in their work were contributing to well-being, and seeing just how much wellness was integrated into the conversation. So I think you just had another slide up just a second ago, Jody, if you wanted to go back to it.
This one?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it just speaks to the interconnectedness of the approach. And, you know, I've said it a few times, much of what we have shone light on through the past 2 years was already embedded practice. You know, we are a strong Catholic system. We have chaplains in every school. As I mentioned, we have faith, family wellness workers in every school. We have Indigenous leads in every school. And so those staff, along with admin, have come to the table, and then they get the opportunity to look at some of the current practices that had already been embedded. Peppy is the other one. Peppy, our other partner that I failed to mention, forgive me, was Stephen Zorba. And it is, again, a way of looking at the whole person, the whole child. It's a holistic approach, and looking at how we're feeling in each area of our lives. So our spiritual dot, our social dot, and our physical dot. And so that has been really, the grant has really been a great opportunity to push that forward, because it was an initiative that we just started to sort of scratch the surface on. And now, as I said, with over the duration of the past 2 years, like just 2 weeks ago, it has culminated into student-led faith and wellness days at every single school. And the ones that didn't do it on the same day are doing them, in the next couple of weeks. And Stephen, if you were here, he'd tell you he was a little bit leery in the beginning, because he didn't think that, the grade fours, for example, could be leaders in it, and they knocked it out of the park. And so and that for their own wellness, these were kids that weren't chosen because they're, had the top marks in the class, or they're on the sports team, or this and that. They were kids that, a whole spectrum of kids that have been chosen who, been able to come out of their shells and really lead these wellness initiatives in their schools. And going forward, we'll continue to do that as they progress into their feeder schools or sister schools. And so on those days, there's been a multitude of activities that, help us do the dots and look at, our approach to our well-being, in the cultural area, spiritual area, social area, physical area. So they look at everything from nutrition to prayer to, how we let our light shine. So we attach it to our faith theme this year, for example. And staff are now able to, pardon the pun, but connect the dots and see, a lot of this rich work that we have been doing, now we can sort of correlate it to how it really truly impacts our wellness and the well-being and the culture of the school.
Mm-hmm. So it sounds like one of the biggest benefits of this funding opportunity that you had was that it let you bring pieces together and form connections between different ideas that may have existed in silos before. What are some of the other benefits that you're seeing? You've already alluded to the power of the circles and seeing the students flourish in their leadership role on the Faith and Wellness Days. What are some of the other benefits and impacts you're seeing from this focus on systemic wellness?
A huge one is just staff being more comfortable of leaning into their faith, of, and strengthen relationships with, Elder Gary, Knowledge Keeper Eva Stang, Knowledge Keeper Rob, other Knowledge Keepers, and because we have, we're a pretty spread out school division. So we're from Camrose to Vegreville to Sherwood Park to Fort Sask to South Cooking Lake. And so just that relationship piece. And I think a sense of validation of, oh, wow, what I was doing was good work, and now we're doing it together. I think another good piece is, and I see Thérèse is going to jump in here, is that we recognize that wellness isn't just one person's responsibility. It isn't just, here's our health champion, because we have health champions in every building as well. That's his job, or that's her job. Or, that's Jody's job because she's the director of such and such, or that's the principal's job. It's that we all come together and lean on each other. And, one of the biggest things that we look at is we do a study of each of our gifts, the gifts that God has given each of us, and to lean into those gifts and strengths and celebrate it and share it with our classmates, our colleagues, etc. Thérèse, do you want to add?
No, that's exactly. I think it's really important to reemphasize that it's not just one person's responsibility. It's all of our responsibility. And I think this year that really came to light with that integrated approach of bringing all of these stakeholders together to work together for that common goal. So as Jody alluded to, our Indigenous lead is speaking to our chaplain, who's speaking to our family wellness worker, who's speaking to our consultants, who's speaking to the superintendent. It's beautiful to see how the language is a part of our being, from the littles all the way to the grade 12 students, and then every person who has some type of role in the school, to the teacher to the educational assistant. Our custodians are also a part of this. So it really is a language of all. So that, I think that has been the biggest benefit, which now we have the momentum. We can continue it because it is embedded.
So on that, what are some of your next steps? You alluded to the grant will end, but you are planning on continuing this work, and it's already deeply embedded in the culture of your division.
Well,
So what
I'll
are
start again with the assurance process, because that's where like my leadership comes in. So once we did our survey in February, we received the results through quantitative and qualitative data. So there's comments. Um, we do a very, very deep dive into the data, so the quantitative and the qualitative, as well as have conversations with our administrators on what they're seeing. Like, we want to make that story come alive. And so because of that, we refined our division strategies under that systemic wellness pillar. And you can see it behind me. It's a big poster. There's two in every school. It's central to our work. And because of the feedback that we received quantitatively and qualitatively, we did a little bit of tweaking to our division strategies based on that feedback. So for example, there are two strategies that we've actually tweaked. And one of the strategies under that systemic wellness is to engage division and school leadership teams to support well-being as a shared responsibility. We really want to go deeper in that shared responsibility piece. What does that mean? What does it look like? We need to give tools to the administrators so that they can continue to lead it in their communities, as well as it was loud and clear in that stakeholder feedback that they want support in developing a division continuum supports for student well-being. So that's something we do not have. We have continuum supports for almost everything, but not for wellness. And we really want to develop that, and that was clear. They want that. They want that support. So those are two big pieces from the assurance data that we are going to bring in for 24-25 and 25-26, because there's 2 more years of this plan. And I'll let Jody finish off with some more of the specifics of that.
Yeah, so as I mentioned, we have had, school celebrations and faith and wellness days. And some of our other schools will continue to do them in different ways. So they're putting them, say, for example, at the once a month or on a staff meeting day or a shorter day towards the end of the day. When you're in schools, you see the evidence all around. And so we've already started to, so last week we had, our health champions and our chaplains come in every couple of months for, collaborative meetings, and they're asking the questions, well, what now? And so, and then I take a pause and say, well, what now? Look at what you've done. And so we do want to continue to have another full scale sort of assembly celebration in June at each school, where we will invite in, our partners. So, elder knowledge keeper will join, priests will join, Stephen will join. And then to catapult us, look at everything that we've planted, look at how it's blossomed. And now we're going to continue to watch it blossom going forward. We always need more money, but we don't need the grant money to continue the great, rich work that we're doing. And so SSF is my department, student and staff formation. And so the amazing consultants that are on my team, we have already started to, to vision how we can support our leads in every building to continue to ensure that it does flourish and grow. Working with Stephen, just how his portion, that one part of the cross, right, Pepe, those dots that I talked about, he hit the growth that he has, and I guess the metamorphosis, if you will, it's transformation. It's just flourished, and he really has embedded the faith portion into the Pepe model. And so he's there as a tool to come in and continue. He's already developed new resources. So we've got big, not spreadsheets, but bulletin board posters that can go up that kids can actually do their dots. And so these just living visual tools to make it continue to be alive in each in our buildings. And I think once the responsibility has been given to students and staff, they're not going to easily give it up. Just because, Here Comes the Sun grant is gone, we still have all that key learning and, the traction. We just need to keep watering it, if you will.
Absolutely. I think you spoke to the power of connection, to the power of shared responsibility, and the power of culture change. Like, it sounds like this grant has really enabled you to make that shift to an integrated view of wellness and finding wellness within the work you already do in your schools and in supporting your students and your communities and your staff.